Hey there. This is going to be a collective reading in honor of the new moon on July 14th, 2026 at 2:43 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So, middle of the night, early hours if you're on the West Coast, and still pretty early hours if you are on the East Coast. The new moon has a window, of the days leading up to it and the days after it, but if you have a clear sky and can stargaze, I would say Monday or Tuesday would be the best time to do so. That's always my favorite part about new moons. However, even though this is in honor of that and the current energies, whenever you find yourself here, there might be a message for you. So with that, I'll start with the oracle card I pulled from the Threads of Fate Tarot, and it made me laugh. And I'll flip that in just a minute, and then I'll just do a 3-card spread from the Ethereal Visions Tarot. I haven't worked with that deck for a while. It's sort of calling to me with all this watery Cancer energy that this new moon is going to be in. So the sun and the moon together in Cancer, and the moon rules Cancer, so the moon is extra strengthened there, and it's a water sign, and it's got like an emotional quality to it that needs nurturance and to be held, and it's like vulnerable. So if you think of the vulnerability of the soft jelly squish of a crab or like a sea creature, that it needs a container to feel safe. So that's the basics. And then when I look at the astrology chart, Mercury is also retrograde and it's nearby. So this might not be your typical new moon, plant the seed, start the new thing. This might be more reflective. Mercury is more linear and logical, but it's swimming in these waters with the solar and lunar energy that are in conversation. And Mercury, as Hermes in Greek mythology, is known to travel between all 3 realms, the lower, the middle, and the upper. So I would say the sun is very celestial, and it just had a conversation with that. So I would almost invite a deeper listening, a deeper like creating a space to be able to hear what the message is. And Mercury will be at 19 degrees on the new moon, so that's actually the sun card in the tarot, which is like one of the best cards there is. So there's just this mercurial sun energy, but then the moon in Cancer is also there, so there's a lot of this subconscious watery deeper feels, tenderness happening. And I laugh because everyone says Mercury retrograde, it's known for these technology glitches and communication glitches, and maybe you even experience some of that more directly than normal. But like if Mercury is like a communication device, and then if you throw it in the water, it's gonna fritz out. So you might be feeling a little fritzed out. So all of that to just say, take a little bit of extra care at this new moon. It does feel gentle when I look at the astrology. I won't get into the whole chart read, but the sun and the moon are together at 21 degrees. So if that number might have some significance to you, and or that's also the world card in the tarot. So something coming to a completion in your emotional sphere. And I mean, that's not what it has to be. That's just one potential. But just be aware that the nodes of the moon, since we're talking about the lunar celestial body, they're switching signs. So they will have just gone into a 0 point of Leo and Aquarius, and they've been in Virgo Pisces for the past like year and a half, 2 years. So if you consider that, if you consider the moon the present moment right now, ever shifting just like the mind, but then think of the north node and the south node as the moment just before now and the moment just preceding now. So past, present, future, all in a trinity. So the past and future, they're going into a whole new energetic signature. So again, another reason to maybe like rest and take a little bit of extra care. Right when I said that, my dog got up to get a sip of water. I paused it, but maybe a reminder to drink more water, or to get in the water, or to just be like water and to let whatever wants to come up so it can move through you, which is always a practice. And you know, with the nodes of the moon shifting into brand new energies, there's also this building. Jupiter is also about to oppose Pluto, so this energy feels more like a calm before a storm, which could be at the full moon. So take the opportunity to rest if you can. Create a safe space for whatever you're going through, whatever you might be bringing to conclusion. You maybe know what that is, and if you don't, maybe something in this reading will reveal that. So with that, I laughed when I pulled this card because it's the armadillo, but it's boundaries. So boundaries can be a difficult thing to master. Most people are not raised with a firm understanding of healthy boundaries, and they either end up being closed off or allow themselves to be invaded, or they become invading of others. So it requires balance and knowing exactly what your needs are. I would say that's a very Cancerian, being able to identify what the need is. In a nonviolent communication, you would then, if you're asking someone else, you would request that they meet that need, and if they can't, you go somewhere else, if you can't fulfill it yourself. Okay, so this card asks you to check in with yourself and see where you live on the boundary spectrum. Do you have a healthy relationship with them? Do you struggle in communicating around them? And are there patterns that continue to crop up around boundaries in your life? That's where the rubber meets the road. And I laughed because I gave you the example of the crab shell, but the armadillo, I mean, he's all rolled into his little roly-poly ball with his shell and some crystals. So the polarity of Cancer in the zodiac would be Capricorn, and that would be the armor or the structure that keeps the softness safe. So it's almost a counterpoint remedy for all this watery emotional, you know, our thoughts are swimming in Cancer, and then the moon and the sun, the celestial energies are in Cancer. So where can you look at your own life and strengthen your no, or if you feel like you want to say no and you can't, investigate that a little bit more. And the book actually has a little exercise, and it's basically a somatic to just check in with your body. And you could also do like a little journal exercise of what does your throat and heart need to communicate around this subject. And the armadillo's name means the little armored one. How adorable is that? So if we already have an idea of what we don't want in our life, we can set boundaries to prevent it from entering. The underside of the armadillo is soft and vulnerable, which is how we should go through life, open-hearted and vulnerable, but also able to protect ourselves if needed. Call upon armadillo to find this balance. It's potent medicine for this. I like the idea of calling on a little armadillo if there's an area where this could be strengthened. And, this can be with another person, or this can be internally as well. And boundaries don't have to be walls. It can be a conversation of, it can be an inquiry. And that could be where Mercury could actually help strengthen this area. A boundary is just communicating what works for you or doesn't work for you. And the more honest and direct you can be around that, the more in alignment it is, instead of getting caught up in people pleasing, trying to do something to sustain worth instead of just knowing you're inherently worthy and checking in with your yes and your no. For some people, it's an immediate gut feeling. You don't have to sleep on it. And for other people, you need some time and space. And that's always an acceptable thing to say. Can I get back to you tomorrow? Like if someone puts pressure on you, you don't have to do it in the moment. You can say, can I have a couple days and get back to you? But oftentimes it's saying no, and sometimes we say yes because we don't want to deal with the other person's reaction to the no. But that's where your own self-inquiry can come in and really investigate, like, what's going on here? Like, what am I afraid of? Or what do I think will happen? And as a good friend once said, a long time ago, if you can imagine the worst thing happening and confront it in your psyche, then it's not as scary when and if it does in real life, and often it doesn't. So, and this book also brings up a plant and a stone, and the plant is yarrow. It's long been referred to as an herb of invulnerability, and it can teach us healthy boundaries, but it's especially helpful as an ally for those that are sensitive to other people's energies. Ooh, that's good. Call on it if you need support in protecting yourself from unconsciously absorbing energies from other people or your environment. I think I've seen tea with yarrow in it, but I'm going to look into this specifically more. So its botanical name is Achille melophyllum. I messed that up, but it's named after the Greek hero Achilles. And myth has it that Achilles was made invulnerable because yarrow was floating in the river his mother dipped him in as a child. She held him at the ankle so his Achilles was not covered in the elixir, making it his weak spot, aka the Achilles heel. So this might also be a time of noticing what your Achilles heel is. And Achilles is also related to the Hermes and Mercury. So I'm actually going to change the question in the tarot reading. Okay, and then the stone is black tourmaline, which I normally have out during these readings, but it's in a different location right now. So, but this is a protector, grounder, and a cleanser all in one. And it's known to transform dense energy into a lighter vibration, ground spiritual energy, and can be used to form a protective shield around your body. Some people may have opinions about any changes you make. And if you're working on being more open, others may take advantage of that openness. So use black tourmaline to cleanse and protect you from unwanted energy from those around you. And you can also use black tourmaline to aid you in maintaining the boundaries you have already set. Well, I feel like this could be the reading. So if this is where you want to stop, and just contemplate taking care, and just the other thing to say about boundaries, right, is it's not trying to control someone else. Like, it's you knowing yourself well enough to say what you're okay and not okay with, and standing by that, regardless of how the other reacts. And their reaction is theirs to deal with. And if there's love there, then there'll also be a respect. And if there isn't, it's on you to decide what to do. But it's not a like do this or else, or do it my way or I'm out of here. It's more of an internal conversation of what do I do with this, and how do I clearly state what my needs are, and then if that's violated, then what do I do? So it's a lifelong learning. I don't know if that came out quite what I was trying to say, but it's more of a saying what you're okay and not okay with. And then if that's met, great. And if it's not, then you decide what to do. But you're never going to like change anyone else with your own boundaries. It's just, how do you take care of you? Okay, so with that, I'm going to pull 3 tarot cards. And I had totally different questions sorted for this, but I want to ask, what do we need to know about our Achilles heel is going to be the first one. And then what do we want to embrace at this time, and what do we need to release at this time? So just let in my other ramblings soak in while I shuffle. Got all the reflective gold. Okay, so the Achilles heel, Ace of Wands reversed. So aces are always positive, even if they are reversed. But I do find that interesting because, you know, Mercury retrograde is the phenomenon of it appearing like it's going backwards. And so retrogrades are a time of all the re-words, so rewind, redo, review, reflect, rewire, rethink. So I feel like the Ace of Wands here is that wanting to transform, wanting the new thing to be here already, wanting the root to take, the buds to open, and this new fresh energy to come in, and yet it's slightly delayed, which is fitting with all the astrology I just said. But how that relates to being an Achilles heel is, I would say, an idealism, right? Like this wanting things to be a certain way, and there's a lot of potential, and it's just not there yet. So there's something about trust the timing, that it's on a bigger timeline, maybe not your own. See that castle in the back there? It's also interesting because upright, it looks like a tree, The wand looks like a tree. In this moat by the castle in the background, but I don't know, the imagery upside down, it's coming at something from a different angle, the way that hand is coming down instead of up. And the wand points to the water. So where are you ready for new growth? Where do you feel ready for new growth? And it just hasn't happened yet. So maybe take care with that. And I also think of that like, it's more the Fool card where he's bounding off into the new beginning. But just thinking of, I don't know, I might be more susceptible to this than just anyone. But the, you know, thinking this is it, this is going to be the new thing. This is going to be the new energy, you know, that I've climbed the mountain, that things are going to get better, the new wardrobe, the new haircut, the new whatever. And how often does it just like, not necessarily be what you're hoping, and then comes that like disillusionment. So I would say the disillusionment could be part of the Achilles heel, in like a hopeful, ungrounded, what's the next thing? But, you know, it could just be a delay, or maybe you feel really impatient, maybe even unmotivated. Again, and I would say let yourself rest with all this Cancer energy. Cancer needs to rest. So rest and reflect. The Achilles heel might be trying to do too much, to not feel things. To not just take a few moments just to be with the feelings, which our culture does not promote. So if that's hard for you, it's okay. But that doesn't mean the good new energy isn't on the way. Just that I think Mercury retrogrades, I forget the exact date, it moves out later in July, and then we're in the shadow phase. And you know, you have to live your life during Mercury retrograde. You can't put it on pause, and you can't blame it any more than you can blame the moon, which is pretty much my favorite thing to do. The moon makes more sense though, because it's influencing the tides, and we're mostly water, and it's always changing, right? It's always changing signs every 2.5 days. It's always changing how much it's illuminated, and it's the closest to Earth, the celestial body closest to Earth, so it would have the most influence on us. But Mercury's pretty close too, so and given that Achilles is in the picture here, the retrogrades are just, you know, that's what I was saying in the beginning, is this new moon is not necessarily the brand new thing. It's the like wrapping up the loose ends, and your heart maybe knows what the new thing is, but it's got its own time influence. And so to not let the impatience get in the way of that, and to just take the best care of yourself for now. So what do we need to release at this time with all this water? Jason Hawley, one of my favorite astrologers and psychotherapist, says that Mercury just wants to keep the story moving, but like the story isn't moving right now. So It's moving, don't get me wrong. That's why I'm like, maybe just take a moment to rest. But okay, let me breathe and focus here while what do we need to release right now? 5 cards just fell out of my hand. That's too many. 1 card. Okay, the moon reversed. What's up with all these reversals? This deck is so pretty. I'm going to show it to you upright. So watery, feminine energy. She's actually looking at the night sky there. It's really beautiful. It's a major arcana card. So I love that the moon, even though it's a reversal, has shown up for what we need to release. So the moon can represent the emotional body, the feminine body, but it can be even like deeper and darker than that. It can be that like, you can't really see when there's no moon, you really can't see it all out in the forest at night. And even if there is moonlight, everything's kind of fuzzy and blurry. So it feels like it can also be the subconscious influence and, in evolutionary astrology, not the tarot, but it can also be your early upbringing and how your identity forms. So I feel like the reversal is what we need to release is a loosening of the old identity, of how we wanted it to go, of how we wanted things to play out. And then, reverse, she's looking at the past instead of the future. So I feel like that further emphasizes that being released as well. And, the moon releasing emotions, well, it cannot be the most pleasant thing to do. Once they pass, it opens up a clarity. So I feel like it's also saying to release that, like to let the feels, Jupiter just moved out of Cancer, so we don't have that like larger than life feelings anymore, but I'm hearing be gentle with yourself. Also, this card correlates to Pisces, so that's endings. So again, it's interesting that the sun and moon are at 21, which would be the world card, and then this what needs releasing is this, again, whatever loose ends are getting tied up. And maybe even, like how little kids get scared of the dark and nighttime, or like we fear, like, ooh, what's in the shadows? Even though shadows in the summertime can offer shade if you're in a dry climate. There's something around this letting fear go, since it's upside down, right? Like the letting the fear shake out of you, or shaking out the fear, or remembering that it's like illusory, like an illusion, like dreams. That reminds me, this card can also pay extra close attention to your dreams at this time. Write them down, share them, decipher them if you're into that kind of thing. And there's also that's your subconscious material releasing itself, so pay attention to that at this time. That's a totally different way to look at release energy. But again, could be, with the impatience of that Ace of Wands and the moon reverse, some frustration, or just confusion, unhappiness, even like disbelief as it relates to the disillusionment. I don't know the Ace of Wands is related to disillusionment at all, but for some reason that's what's coming through this reading. I really love that Moon card. She's kind of like holding her knee too as she stares out into the vast beyond. So again, a reminder to hold yourself. She has this really flowy hair. These two cards have a good juxtaposition of just daytime solar fire wand energy, and then the Moon card being that just the starry night energy. Okay, final card. What do we need to release? As I say that, I'm like looking at these cards, right? There's the card just fell on the ground and I don't know what it is yet. He's holding the Ace of Wands really tight, and then she's holding her knee. So there's this like gripping. So there's like a message of what are you gripping onto, and how could you maybe loosen the grip? Oh, nice. What do we need to embrace? Ace of Pentacles. Earth. And then all the little stars in the sky here. We've got the star on that pentacle. Wow, that's really pretty imagery. So we have two aces here, and now one upright. Although it did fall out of the deck while I was shuffling to the floor, so there could be some subconscious material here as well. But so we have fire, water, and earth. And earth is what needs to be embraced. So how to get your feet on the ground, how to maybe not like make money, but how to do the exchange in the world that can open up doors for that. I'm just thinking here. And then I was speaking of holding and loosening the grip, but then look, it's holding this coin lightly. So as you move through your shadow material or your subconscious material during this new moon and during the Mercury retrograde, and deal with any disillusionments or disappointments as it relates to where you've maybe been hurt and need boundaries moving forward, there's this very positive what the question was, what do we need to embrace? And it's the earth, the element of earth. So if you're a Taurus, a Virgo, or a Capricorn, that's calling to you. And you know, stability, new beginnings, abundance, prosperity. So just don't give up hope as you're working through some of this other stuff. It could be leading to not just wealth or riches, but like maybe something deeper and truer and more in alignment with who you are and who you are moving forward. And if you can cultivate that, give that a nest or a cocoon, and then find the balance of what needs protected so that you can be vulnerable and share what it is that you're here to share, that there could potentially be shining light that comes from that doesn't even make sense. But I'm looking at this star and just thinking of how a star shines and what's your inherent light and how can you actually bring it into the earth plane, and then it'll take care of you. So even though things might seem sticky or like they're not working, to not lose faith. And with that, I'm gonna just end on, I already pulled this card, but if you just take a moment, if you're listening, to look at the camera, it's I need a lot better lighting here. The deer card is this beautiful painting. It actually has a full moon behind it. So between the new moon and the next full moon, it says, this deck is so interesting, the deer, instinctual energy, independence, and regeneration. So graceful, swift, and elusive, the deer has symbolized the powers in nature that are not easily subdued. A deer's antlers, which are shed and regrown each year, are specifically associated with regeneration and renewal. A swift deer with golden antlers was sacred to the Greek god Artemis, whose realm was the wilderness and instinctual, untamed things. A deer is also a symbol that summons individuals to a calling or journey. So there's the calling or journey message in relation to that Ace of Pentacles. So the deer is summoning you to a calling or journey. It frequently appears in legends and myths as creature which lures a hunter or a knight into the wilderness. In the legend of King Arthur, it leads Sir Gawain to the woods to begin his adventures. And the deer is also gentle to me. I keep going to throw this down and it's not throwing it where I want it. You can't see it. The light, it has a weird glare on this deck where it picks up everything else but the image. You're being summoned to your calling. Let yourself run wild with it. Thanks for tuning in. Let me know if anything resonated with you or not. Okay, take care.